Welcome to another S&P 500 analysis. Today is September 9, 2022. Another huge week for the S&P 500. As pointed out by the market internals in my last week's S&P 500 analysis summary, which I have said, the market could be setting up to put in a higher low. Although one can easily make a case this market is heading to test the June's low. But to make a case that it will go below the June's low is purely speculating, since the internals do not support the hypothesis at this present. Basically, the internal was telling us not to expect a new low anytime soon. And in this S&P 500 analysis, we'll look at the sentiments, the market internals, the price action of the S&P 500, and the other major market indexes and see what the market is telling us now. We'll also look at the 10-year yield, the US dollar, gold, silver, and crude oil. Stay tuned. Before we begin, a few announcements. First, one of the viewers have suggested me to do a Q&A session, and I'm open to doing a Q&A video if there are enough questions regarding to the tools and the analysis technique that I use. So if you have any question for me, post them in the comment section below, and after I have compiled enough questions, I will then produce a video to answer them. In addition, you might have noticed this video do not include my analysis on the SPY, QQQ, and IWM anymore. In order to make this video shorter, I have decided to do a separate video for the SPY, QQQ, and IWM, where I will discuss price level and price scenario to watch for the coming week. And I usually post this video on Sunday. I also started to post additional contents during the week on Substack. If you are interested in reading additional contents from me, go visit my Substack page. The link to my Substack page is smtrader.substack.com. I have put this link in the description below. And yes, don't forget to smash the thumbs up to help promote this video on YouTube. And if you are not a subscriber and you like the contents, click the subscribe. Okay, let's go to the analysis. Now on this weekly chart of the S&P 500, we see a bullish engulfing candle, a weekly engulfing candle, or an outside bar. The S&P 500 had a range of 190 points, almost 200 points for the week. It gained 143 points, or 3.65%. It closed back above this 10-week moving average and still below this 40-week moving average. Also, it is holding above this June low. Right now, I put in some dashed line here to kind of highlight the lower low, lower high. And so right now, if this low hold above the June low, and we could make a high to take out this pivot high, then essentially this will put in a higher low and a higher high. And that could break this downtrend defined by this lower high and lower low. Now let's go and take a look at the sentiment and the internals before we take a closer look at the price action of the S&P 500 and the other major market indexes. Now let's take a look at the sentiment chart here. The VIX is still in this 20-30 zone, but it's been coming down throughout the week. And also the put-call ratio, as you can see on Tuesday, it was above 1. But then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it started coming back down. And on Friday, it closed at 0.8. So just slightly above that 0.75 threshold between risk on and risk off. And looking at the New York Stock Exchange up-down volume ratio, the up-down volume ratio was pretty anemic except for Friday. The up-down volume ratio was 17-1 during the trading session on Friday, and it closed at 10-1 in favor of the up volume. So there was a lot of buying pressure on Friday's rally. And we saw Thursday's rally was not a broad-based rally due to the low number of advancing issues versus declining issue. But Friday's rally, similar to Wednesday, it was broad-based. Because on Friday, we had over 2,100 more advancing issue than declining issue. Similarly, on Wednesday, there were 1,684 more advancing issue than declining issues. So these two internals are telling us the recent rally are not just short squeeze. These are broad-based or broad market rallies. And on Friday, the New York Stock Exchange new high, new low, they were actually more 52-week high than 52-week low. And the New York Stock Exchange cumulative AD line showed no divergence between the AD line and the S&P 500. And looking at the NASDAQ up-down volume ratio, it also showed heavy buying pressure on Wednesday and Friday's rally. The daily advance decline also showed a broad base or broad market participation in those rallies. The NASDAQ new low still outnumbered the new high, but the number of stocks making new low is staying relatively low. And the NASDAQ cumulative AD line almost put in a new low. That would have been a major concern if it did, but now it is reversing back away from the low and showing no divergence between the cumulative AD and also the NASDAQ 100. So the sentiment are showing us the market participants' fear level is coming down, and also the internals are telling us the recent rallies are legit and broad-based. It is not driven by a few high-cap stocks. Okay, let's take a look at the daily price chart of the SP 500. As you can see, the price on Friday closed above this upper range of the expected move. And you see that it held this trend line support and, past this pivot support test here. So right now, it is back up at this price zone near this support resistance zone near the 4100. And the upper range for the next week expected move is between 4175 and 4158. And the lower range is between 3977 and 3945. Now notice there's a gap here from Friday. So it left that gap, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a pullback next week and fill this gap. So here's the scenario that I will be watching for next week. So here's this gap here. And if we see a little bit of a pullback, I wouldn't be surprised to see the gap get filled and come down and possibly even tag the lower range before getting bounce back up and basically probably chop around in this zone and hold it there somewhere around 4100 and wait until the following week for the FOMC meeting to either get a lift off or come back down and try to get the bear all excited coming down and test this gap here and fill this gap. So next week with the CPI number on Tuesday, we probably will see a little bit of a reaction. And if we do see a negative reaction, then most likely we probably will fill this gap and also do a little bit of a back test of this trend line support. But if it's positive and just continue to move up, then look for this zone, this 4100 level, get tested and possibly move up and test the upper range of the weekly expected move between 4158 and 4175. Looking at the NASDAQ 100, we also see there's this gap here from Friday. And also notice that it held this support resistance zone here, although it's dipped down a little bit, but it did make its way back up and close above it. And actually, got back above this trend line here. So right now, we essentially are looking for the NASDAQ 100, see if it pull back just like the S&P 500, come down and fill this this gap and possibly back test this zone here, and then get another push up and possibly get back up above the trend line and maybe testing this zone here, this 13,000 zone here. Now, you might wonder why I don't put the expected move for the NASDAQ 100. Well, the NASDAQ 100 option is very lightly traded, so it's not very liquid, and the price for that might not be representative of the expected move. So instead, I will put the expected move on the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, and that is highly liquid and a lot of trading on that option. So the pricing on that is more indicative. So look for that on the QQQ video that we'll post on Sunday. Look at the Russell 2000. As you can see, the Russell 2000 held support at this trend line and also this resistance support zone here, and also got back above this 1853 level, this price zone, and right now it's making its way back into this 1900 zone here. So for the coming week, if it see a little bit of a pullback, we will expect this gap to get filled and possibly come down and check this zone once again. this 1853 area, then pushes back up to this 1900 area. And for the Dow Jones Transportation, as you can see, the Dow Jones Transportation held this support here, this pivot high support, and also made its way back up above the 14,000 level. So right now we be watching to see what it see a little bit of a pullback next week, come back down, fill this gap, and then pushes back up above the 14,000 and make its way toward the 14,500. And for the Dow Jones Industrial, you see the Dow Jones Industrial held this trendline support, and right now it is back above the 32,000 level. So next week we'll see if it pulls back, will it fill this gap and hold above this trend line, then pushes up again and get back above the 32,000 and work its way toward this 33,000 level. Looking at the New York Stock Exchange Composite, see that it held this support, this pivot high support here, and also it got back above the 15,000 level and also above this double bottom pivot high level here. So right now we'll be watching the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index will be continue to move up toward the 15,600 level. We could see a little bit of a pullback and maybe double check, do a little bit of a back test at this pivot high zone again. But in any case, we'll be watching to see will it continue to move up after this back test. And looking at this 10-year yield, we are looking at the yield coming back up above this 3.25%. We're basically still looking at this thing to come back up above the 3.5 to 3.75%. So we probably see another movement up in a couple of weeks when the FOMC meeting take hold and make its latest announcement on the rate cut. Not surprised at all at 75 basis point. We'll be a little bit surprised if we get 100 basis point, but 75 is expected. And the US dollar continue to go up, even though we pull back a little bit on the week, but you can see that it's continue to move its way upward, and I would not be surprised to see the dollar topping out at 117 eventually. And this week on the crude oil chart, I basically have reserved back to the Thinkorswim format because I could get some volume profile in there, and we could go and identify some of these key zones to keep an eye on. And for example, right now we see crude oil bouncing back up just slightly above 86. You see there's low volume area here, so that would be between about 86.5 and 84.25. So we'll see, would it be able to stay above this low zone here? If it could stay above this little bit of a low volume zone, then look for oil to move its way back up to this high volume area at the 95.5. I'm also moving the silver back to the Thinkorswim platform as well. And you can see silver came down to this area here, this low volume zone, somewhere around this 17.5, and got a nice rejection back up to this high volume node here, somewhere around 1878. So be keeping an eye on it to see will it continue to move up into this next area of a low volume area. And that would place it up somewhere around this $20 level and see what it get itself back up to this low volume zone and back up at this 22 area, this high volume node here. Also gold, I'm moving it back to the Thinkorswim platform as well. And as you can see, I have marked off some of these low volume zone here. And you see that this 1700 level has been basically bouncing off for in the last couple of weeks, last few weeks. And right now it's bouncing off again. So we'll see, will it be able to come make its way back up to this high volume area, this high volume node near 1823. In summary, the index have held support this week. And if they continue to hold support and continue to move up, then this support could be the higher low that initiate the next uptrend. Now, next week, the CPI number could be a market moving event if the number is dramatically different than the consensus. I will have these numbers in my next video. The internals are not deteriorating and they are not putting pressure to weaken the market. To the contrary, they are holding up well and are building strength to lift the market. We might see a slightly lower low than this week's low, but do not look for a test of the June low soon, unless there is some kind of black swan event peek its head. And don't forget to smash the thumbs up to help promote this video and post your question in the comment section below for my Q&A video. Thank you for watching and stay safe.